On this week's episode, could 2019 be the biggest movie year of all time? What does Arcade 1 Up do for an encore? And why does the world of Gundam still have so much charm with its followers? All this and more as we go retro. As we once again delve into the pop culture cosmos. And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. But it wouldn't be a Pop Culture Cosmos without my good friend. He's the old school gamer of Humanica Media. You gotta check out what's going on today at humanicamedia.com, Humanica Media on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and so much more. It is my good friend, ready to play some Galaga like me. It is Josh Peterson. What's up, man?
It's funny that you talk about Galaga because I did just play that in the At Games pack, and it's fun, man. It's one of those games you can sit there and play it mindlessly, and I enjoy those types of games every now and then. But I digress. I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good too. I'm really just psyched coming back from an awesome CES. If you want to hear my thoughts on CES 2019, that is on the PCC Multiverse, which debuted on Friday on our podcast networks. I give you explicit detail about everything that went on the show and my thoughts on exactly what was trending and what was going in the right direction at CES. But we've got a great show for everyone here today. We talked to Arcade One Up and also My Arcade on today's show from CES in our, I guess, our tribute to old school gaming and retro gaming and how big it was at CES. Plus, also as well, speaking of retro gaming, Josh is coming on later in the show. Josh is coming on later in the episode with a review of.
Oh, that's my lines. At Games, Bandai Namco Blast Pack. Nice little blast from the past.
Absolutely, it is, and he's going to give you a rundown of what's going on with the At Games Bandai Namco Blast coming up later in the program. Plus, we're going to also end the show on the back end with some talk about Gundam and why it's holding its charm with its followers. But first, my friend, I want to talk about movies up front in 2019. I'm going to be honest with you, my friend. There's a packed house coming this year to audiences as far as the big screen and all that. You know what? We're going to start off with some good stuff going on earlier in the year with Lego Movie 2. Also, as well, we're going to be talking about some Captain Marvel. Those are coming out in February or March. We've got Glass coming right around the corner as well. First off, your thoughts on movies coming up in this spring before the big one comes up later in April. We'll talk about that one in a sec, but some of the movies that are coming out in January, February, and March. What are your thoughts about some of those movies like Lego Movie 2, Captain Marvel, Glass, like I was talking about, and so much more?
Sometimes I just need to remember to unmute my microphone. What months are we talking about? You said don't talk about what?
Well, let's talk about the first 3 months of the year. Some of the movies
Oh,
that are coming out the first 3 months include Glass, which is coming out right around the corner. We've got Captain Marvel coming up in March. We've got the Lego Movie 2 that's coming out in early February. We've also got Alita Battle Angel that's also coming up in February. That one got pushed back. How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. There's some good stuff coming out in January, February, and March. Your thoughts on those movies coming out in the first quarter of 2018?
okay. So January is always a weird month for movies, right? Like what do we talked about this last year how it was Resident Evil and Underworld all came out in January and they were they're subpar, I guess. But I'm not really looking forward to Glass that much. Like, I do want to see it, but it's not something I'm super excited about. It feels like it's going to be just one of those movies that I go and see, and I'm like, all right, just to be part of the conversation. What I'm actually looking forward to in January is the Dragon Ball Super Brawly movie. I saw the last one in theaters. I think is the Return of Frieza, but I gotta be honest, man. I will go see anything Dragon Ball, and that's just maybe that's my inner nerd talking, but it'll always have a special place in my heart. But I do want to ask you this: the Kid Who Would Be King. How do you feel about that movie?
I knew you were going to ask me that. And remember, there were days, in fact, when we started this show, January was still thought of as a dump zone, where movies that were set to die usually were released right around that time in January. But with the advent of Split and some other movies, Hidden Figures, and some other movies of that ilk that have really prospered in the month of January, January is no longer the throwaway month that it once was. The Kid Who Would Be King, to me, when I've seen it, the trailers, I'm not impressed by them personally. I just think it's going to be something that I think in its time, in its area, I don't think it's going to survive very long or very well with the Lego movie right behind it and Glass right in front of it. It's getting sandwiched in between. It might actually have one good weekend at best, but I don't foresee a long-term thing with the Kid Who Would Be King. I don't see it becoming a franchise or anything of that nature. It just does not look appealing enough on a mass appeal type basis to see any type of success out of the film.
Okay, well, here's the thing. When it comes to movie marketing, I'm the kind of person that doesn't watch TV usually, right? So I don't see any of the ads on television. And if I don't know that a movie is happening, then I always know that it's not going to do that great because if I don't see any things on buses or any billboards or any of that stuff or see any trailers, I kind of have this feeling like Glass has been marketed amazingly. You see that.
And you live in Southern
I
California,
live in
where it is the biggest place in the world for anything movie advertising.
Oh yeah, dude. Like, driving up the 605 back when Pacific Rim came out, like I couldn't drive, you know, h- quarter mile without seeing a sign for Pacific Rim 2. So, I just, the Kid Who Would Be King. It reminds me of that old movie, A Kid in King Arthur's Court, but a lot more, I guess, newer. Uh,
Well, it has the kid that what he pulls the sword from the
yeah,
stone. He's the next King Arthur. He's got friends that he become his helpful knights and all that. The class trains to become knights to fend off the evil. Somehow he's got a magical individual as a friend that's at just at the school as well. It just all the stuff you have to go ahead and bend your imagination for that really looks like something. It's a kids movie. It's not. But the problem is with this kids movie, a kids movie that's well done still appeals to adults, and I don't think that's going to be the case with a Kid Who Would Be King.
no, no, definitely not. I think that kids' movies are kind of made as an afterthought too. That kind of say, okay, what's all the trends? What hasn't been touched in a while? And me personally, I'm gonna wait until the Disney real life remake of Sword in the Stone. February. Okay,
Well,
so
yeah, Lego Movie 2. What do you think of Lego Movie 2? Just real quick
yeah,
thoughts on that.
yeah. Okay, this is gonna sound bad, but I never actually saw Lego Movie 1. My family went to see it. My nephew came back and would not stop singing "Everything Is Awesome," and I just didn't have any desire to see it after that. I've heard good things though. So and the trailers are funny. I do like it's got that dry officey humor in it. Um, but yeah, no, I think it's gonna because I'm looking at all the things that are coming out in February, and I honestly like that's coming out at a perfect time because there's not really a lot before it and after it, with the exception of How to Train Your Dragon and arguably Alita Battle Angel, which I'm stoked to see because I love that the graphic novel, but I don't think that it's going to be something that really sees huge return in the box office. So really, all it has to contend with is How to Train Your Dragon, which is going to be. I, I love those movies, man. I have such a soft spot in my heart for those because they are of all the animated films out there. I think that they are top notch. But yeah, no, I think Lego Movie 2 will do fine. It's gonna, people love the first one. I don't remember exactly what it was in the box office, what it brought back, but They're doing a good job of marketing. I'm seeing billboards, I'm seeing trailers. It's really just all over the place. So it's got enough saturation to keep people interested, and it's got an entire month to kind of do its thing. How are you feeling about it, though?
Well, Lego Movie, I think what did well over $200 million at the box office was a pretty good hit for the guys who ended up. They were going to be doing the solo movie, then they got kicked off the solo movie, but they were part of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, so they've got their mojo back. To me, it looks like a lot of rehashing from the first film, is from what I've seen in the trailers. I love the first film. I thought it was really funny. To me, it may be like watching Deadpool 2, where it's going to be ha 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 on the first film and on the second film. So I'm not sure I'm going to get much out of it. If you see it, I bet you will enjoy it a lot more than I have, because the jokes itself will seem much fresher to you than what they will to me. Because, like I said, it just seems like a little bit of a rehash from what we've seen before. How to Train Your Dragon, I can't sit through them. I've tried, I just can't sit through them. I just they never clicked with me. Just like the Ice Age movies, it just never clicked with me.
Okay, wait a second.
But I will agree with you on Alita Battle Angel. It's something I'm looking forward to as well, even though I know it will probably tank at the box office.
Okay, I want to go back to the part where you said that How to Train Your Dragon is not something you're able to watch.
It's just I can't get through it. I just
Where's your
Jay
soul?
Baruchel, he just doesn't do it for me, man.
What is going on here? That is
All right, man. Just doesn't do it for me. Moving on to Captain Marvel, my friend.
Yeah, all right.
Well, you know what? I might actually give it a watch just for you, my friend. I might actually give it a watch just for you. How about that? Since it's the last one.
The acting and the soundtrack, it brings up so many emotions. Like they did such a great job of making you feel things while watching that movie.
Well, let's see if it's good the third time around, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is the third one. I honestly, this should be the third one, the last one, because they've killed off enough of the main characters. So,
Well, and they've also actually guaranteed it. That's part of the advertising. So, I know. Hey, I might actually go check it out this time around. But then in March we've got Captain Marvel. You know what? We're going to go heavy into detail in Captain Marvel over the next couple months. Obviously, the last trailer came out. The most recent trailer that came out identified the scrolls a little bit more and what they're up against as far as the Kree is concerned, the Kree and the scrolls, and the battle and the war going on there, and how it's going to affect Earth and what form and what fashion. But we're going to go into a little bit heavier detail in the next couple months on Captain Marvel, so we won't stay too long on that. Then in for the rest of March, it's still, like I said, when it comes to the movies this year, there just seems to be like a murderer's row, because there's so many good movies coming out this year. I just cannot wait for it. You've got, in March 29th, we've talked about Captive State a little bit. As far as that could be that could be a movie that could connect with audiences. That could be something that's really good, or be something that just people just want to vacate. Vacate very quickly. But Dumbo comes at the end of March, and I think that's something that Disney has planned out very well, where they're just like bookending it with a hit movie in early March, and they've got a back end of it on the at the end of March with Dumbo, something that they're looking forward to. I'm sure getting some strong returns. Dumbo seems to be something that's fascinating audiences. Not quite as much as The Lion King.
Wait. Would you say that when it comes to Dumbo, people really have their ears to the ground?
Oh my goodness, you did go there. Yes, you did go there. But you know what? I tell you what, I think it looks like it's going to be a very strong month for Disney. I think both of those movies are spaced out well enough that they will not hinder each other, and I think they reach different audiences. So I think it's going to be good for Disney as well. Coming up in April, my friend, I want to ask you real quick. You've got Pet Sematary and Shazam coming out on the same weekend. What are your thoughts on those two coming out on the same weekend as we go into April, just before a movie I know you're excited for in Hellboy?
Okay, so Pet Cemetery. This one's actually kind of interesting because I do remember watching the old one when I was a kid, and it scared the crap out of me. But uh, like the last Stephen King movie to come out before it, Dark Tower, right? They I don't know. I feel like with something like Pet Cemetery, it's such an awkward property that doesn't really get the attention that it did once when it was when the book came out. But I feel like they're kind of hoping that it's gonna ride the success of it a little bit, and uh, I don't. Again, I haven't seen a lot of marketing for it. I don't like. I know the story, you know the story, but is it going to appeal to a newer generation of people? How do you what do you think about that?
Watch out for those cats, man. They're always evil in Pet Cemetery.
Yeah, I know, I know.
But I'll tell you what, when it comes to Pet Cemetery, it all depends on the cost of the actual picture. If they stay at $50 million or under, they could probably get some nice returns off that movie. And I think it's going to be something that it's a movie that, no, it's not going to go over that well with critics, but I think it will just entertain enough audiences to make a nice little tidy profit for the film studio. And coming out opposite Shazam, man, Shazam is going to be a tough test for the DC universe because Aquaman has hit $1 billion on the big screen worldwide. What are your thoughts on Shazam, real quick, making it to be a successful movie in its own right?
I think it's got all the things it needs to be successful in the box office. It's got that light tone. The trailer looks funny. I mean, it looks like it's got it I don't know what that feel that you got when you went to go see Green Lantern. Like there's comedy in it, but there's also like maybe a very short fight scene. That's what I'm kind of expecting from Shazam because I think a lot of it's going to be him kind of figuring out what his powers are, figuring out what his responsibilities are, what he needs to do with these powers. It
Do you do you think it'll actually hold off the first weekend of Hellboy because that comes right after the week after both Pet Cemetery and Shazam?
Well, you're asking the wrong person because I am completely biased about Hellboy. That's my favorite comic book of all time. Love the Guillermo del Toro movies. I've read every Hellboy story arc there is. Um, see, that's a good question because Shazam is more well known, right? Or at least right now because part of the DC
Right
universe.
now, there's better advertising and promotion on Shazam right now than Hellboy. We've only seen one trailer for Hellboy so far, and I'm not sure there's enough hype for it to be that successful at this point in time. They're going to have to do a major push around February or March to get this thing underway.
Right, but Hellboy also has a very I don't want to say niche followers, but it has comic book fans know Hellboy. And Mike Minola is, he's amazing at writing and I guess he produces one too. But yeah, there comic book fans know Hellboy. They know it's going to come out. It's got a lot of goodwill. And I think that that's going to make it some money. I think it's going to be successful, maybe not as successful as Shazam, right? It's not going to skyrocket into the billions like Aquaman has, but it's going to do okay.
Well, both of them have to make their money quickly because at the end of the month is Avengers Endgame, which got pushed up again from its early May start, just like it did last year, I guess, to do a simultaneous worldwide release. We're going to go into great detail over the next few months on Avengers Endgame and all the scenarios and all the what ifs, especially coming out of Captain Marvel. But, we said it already. We both think in our predictions that in our prediction show that we had earlier this month, we both think that Avengers Endgame will be the number one movie of the year in 2019. Has anything you've seen so far changed your mind on that?
No, no, because Endgame is going to be huge. Like this is a movie. This isn't just a movie. This is an event. This is everything Marvel's been working towards for the past 10 years, and this is a culmination of everything they've been doing in all that time. And it Avengers Infinity War was interesting to me in the fact that it I guess in the same way that Black Panther did, it kind of touched a lot of people that hadn't been fans of the franchise up until that point. Like I've talked to people who are like, yeah, I didn't watch, all 20 movies. I didn't watch some of the original Iron Man or Thor movies, but I went to go see that and it like I genuinely cried during it. I was like, that is awesome. So I think that when it comes to Avengers, there's a big market for it and people are already and they did a good job of hooking you in and it's like it ended like Empire Strikes Back, now everyone wanted to see Return of the Jedi. So The Avengers Endgame is going to be huge. I think it's going to be the biggest movie of the year. And you heard me before. I predict it's going to make over $1 billion easily.
A billion or 2 billion? Because 2 billion should be the end game for it because that's what Infinity War got. I think it will do over $2 billion at the box office.
Yeah, that too. No, it will. It's honestly, it's going to be the biggest movie of the year, and you can quote me on that.
Fair enough, fair enough. And it will have to do $2 billion because remember, on the back end, you've got Star Wars Episode 9, which we'll talk about here in just a sec, ending the Skywalker whole story arc about that, anything relating to that. So it's supposed to end in Star Wars Episode 9. So it's supposed to be important on that. So it's going to be big just for that. So we'll talk about more of that in a sec when it comes to the relationship between who will be which movie will be larger, Avengers Endgame and Star Wars Episode 9. But, that leads us into May, and it's going to be hot and heavy because you've got all Avengers Endgame that'll be just skyrocketing up the charts. And like we're talking about, doing so much money there. One of the things I want to ask you real quick when it comes to May, you've got movies that are under the radar like Detective Pikachu, John Wick Chapter 3. I think this is the final one, but I'm not 100% sure. John Wick Chapter 3. I think we'll get more lead in on that once it gets closer to the movie. You've got Aladdin coming up closer to the Memorial Day weekend and Godzilla King of the Monsters coming on the back end. So there's very interesting movies come out, and even Minecraft and Brightburn, something we talked about before with Brightburn, the horror movie, and the Minecraft movie coming out as well in May. It's still, to me, it does not look like it's an overwhelming mix of ultra hit movies, but it looks like a lot of quality movies as far as movies that are make 200 to 500 million that are really going to just take advantage of that early summer outing. Your thoughts on the movies in May?
I think that at least 3 of them are going to be pushed forward or back. Minecraft, I was just laughing because I saw Minecraft and Warner Brothers be like, "I'm gonna put this out at the same time as Aladdin." That's a great idea. No, they should not do that. Detective Pikachu is in a good place because it's kind of after everyone's seen Avengers, and it's like one of the first big movies of May. And it's got that whole week to kind of do its thing. John Wick Chapter 3, that's one of those movies I think a lot of people, I don't know how well its returns are in theaters, but I know a lot of people watch it religiously when it hits Redbox and digital. Is that something that you're looking to see in theaters?
I'm not overwhelmingly wanting to see it. I will see it if I'm available to do so, but it's not something I'm going to go really die hard to see because I think I will still be in that buzz from Avengers Endgame at that time, and I probably will have gone back to see Avengers Endgame if it's good at least two or three times. It just because that's the way I am right now with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm just almost eating up almost anything that they're dishing out. Only movies like you and I talked about with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where we get a movie there that's just not performing up to standards within recent times, where it's just not exciting us in any way, have we just gone and said, you know what, one time is good enough for me. But we'll have to wait and see. There are some movies in May that are kind of got my interest, but it's not real just eye catcher, just grab you, just you have to go see it one way or the other. And right now that I think May looks okay, but it's not they're not heavy hitters to the point where you got really, really big box office returns coming up in May.
I think Aladdin's gonna do pretty well.
Aladdin's okay. You know what? That's the thing, though. We've got Dumbo already a live anime, already coming out. You've got Lion King coming up on the back end. Aladdin may be that in that slot, and you've seen movies already during the Memorial Day weekend for Disney 2 years in a row with the Pirates of the Caribbean movie and then Solo, both underwhelming and both not meeting expectations, and they both were Memorial Day weekend releases. So keep that in mind, my friend, as we head to June, because June you've got movies like Child's Play, Toy Story 4, Men in Black International, the remake of Shaft, Grudge. My gosh, a lot of mixed stuff there that could be hit or miss. But one of the things I want to ask you is Dark Phoenix is coming out on the 7th of June. Your thoughts on whether or not the X-Men series, when it needs a reboot at this point in time, or does it have still enough left in the fire, pun intended, when it comes to Dark Phoenix, to see that it actually can make and generate some kind of enthusiasm within the X-Men universe?
That was a very dark pun, Gerald. Um,
Oh,
okay, so at this point, those movies are made. The X-Men movies are made. New Mutants, Dark Phoenix, they're made. I don't think that they're going to. From what I understand, Bob Iger said that there's no plans to, or he's hinting at the fact that there's no plans to incorporate these characters into the universe.
well,
Um,
he could be hinting at it all he wants, but he's always going to defer at this point in time Kevin Feige until Kevin Feige drives the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a bad direction.
yeah, that's true. I just I don't see them keeping these characters. I mean, maybe because there's like three different timelines open. Maybe they'll find a way to do it. It'd be foolish not to keep Deadpool at least, but Dark Phoenix, I'm not excited about it, man. I don't really care about that franchise anymore. It's been beaten to death so many times. Logan was a beautiful movie, but just this timeline, I don't really care that much because they've kind of taken the characters in sort of ridiculous circles over and over again. Like Michael Fassbender's Magneto, he's a good guy, he's a bad guy, he's a good guy, he's a bad guy. Like they can't make up their mind what they want to do with him. And the Phoenix, like it's been done. Like it's been done in comic books, it's been done in cartoons, it was done in Brett Ratner's crap X-Men 3 movie. I don't see this being something that's going to hit hard because remember, we were all stoked about X-Men Apocalypse, right? And then that ended up being subpar at best. So I'm just not looking forward to. I'll probably go see it, but it's not something I'm dying to watch. Men in Black International, on the other hand, I am kind of excited about that because say what you want about Men in Black 3, but I honestly have not seen there has Men in Black, it's funny, it's entertaining. It's not those they're not good movies, but they're entertaining and they're fun to watch, and it's always been a good popcorn flick. Like, I look at Men in Black in the same way I look at The Mummy.
I don't agree with you on Men in Black International. It really hasn't done anything to wow me, but that doesn't mean it won't, or that doesn't mean it can't, because it can sway me around with some better trailers coming out in the future. July comes around. This one to me is probably the next best month that we've seen after February, March, and April. I mean, uh, July looks like it's a much better month for moviegoers because you've got Spider-Man: Far From Home, the another Conjuring movie coming up in July as well, and then you've also got The Lion King coming up on near the back end on the 19th of July, and then a movie that I'm looking forward to from Quentin Tarantino back on the big screen again with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Is that
Your
that
thoughts on the movie? Your
oh,
thoughts on the movie in July, my friend?
yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. That last movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, is that the Ted Bundy flick with Zac Efron?
That is not the Ted Bundy flick with Zac Efron. That
Okay.
is the Charles Manson flick
Oh, got it, got it.
with Brad Pitt and oh gosh, a whole bunch of people. He's got a whole bunch of great stars in it. You've got Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio. I know there's a ton of other guest stars. I think Al Pacino's in it. Just there's quite a few stars in it. Margot Robbie, I think, as well.
Okay, so I look at July and I see an opportunity for me to actually watch every movie that comes out in July because I mean, I'm not going to watch all of them, but the ones I do want to see, I'm going to have time to go see without feeling overwhelmed by it all. The Conjuring universe, from what I understand, that's the next Annabelle film, if I was reading the article correctly. Spider-Man: Far From Home. This is something to be excited about because this is the first post Endgame film. So I'm pretty excited to see in what state the world is in, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is in after all that stuff goes down. Uh, The Lion King, yeah, I'm excited about it. I want to see more trailers though, because they showed us that little snippet and they showed us who's playing who. Lion King was always, the Sega game super frustrating, but the movies were always good. So I'm expecting the same kind of treatment for this movie that the Jungle Book got, but that one that Jon Favreau made. Sorry, uh, yeah, that's Jon Favreau made Jungle Book, right? Okay, yeah. So I really enjoyed that one. I'm expecting Lion King to kind of have the same aesthetics. But yeah, I most of all, I'm looking forward to Spider-Man: Far From Home. But what are your thoughts on the month of July?
Well, I'm going to tell you, The Lion King is my favorite to go ahead and hit $1 billion in that month. The reason why I say that is because the anticipation, that little snippet that you saw that you and I didn't see much of as far as the trailer is concerned, the trailer came out, it didn't show much, and it didn't need to show much because it was one of the most popular trailers within the first 24 to 48 hours of all time. And it rivaled anything that Marvel and Star Wars has put out. So to me, that shows there's a great excitement for The Lion King. And I think that even if it's an okay movie at best, it's still going to do gangbusters at the box office. Spider-Man: Far From Home, it's great that it's coming out. Obviously, it extends the Spider-Man universe even more and the relationship a little bit with, more of the Spider-Man universe that's there for Sony and maybe a little bit sprinkled in with the Marvel universe as well. But yeah, it's I just wish they would not have announced this or not put this out so soon after the events of Avengers Endgame and kind of give us a little bit of just I don't know, surprise of wonder. But we all know Spider-Man's coming back. We all know Black Panther is coming back. Most of those entities that are gone that actually generated a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of dollars in the Marvel payroll, they're coming back for sure. But it's always nice to have that little moment of suspense. But
Do you
I
think
digress.
do
But
you think you'll still be saying that though after Endgame comes out?
I think I will be. I think I
Okay,
will be.
okay, alright.
Spider-Man: Far From Home. I am looking forward to. Spider-Man: Homecoming was a great movie for me. It's probably to me the best live-action Spider movie I've seen. Although Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is the actual best Spider-Man movie I've seen, the Spider-Man: Homecoming was really, really good, and I expect nothing less from Spider-Man: Far From Home. Now that they've got a nice little formula to rely on, but you're right, The Lion King, I think, but I think The Lion King overall will probably be the biggest movie of the month in the month of July. August comes around, you've got a lot of you've got the mixed movie. August to me seems like the month where there's not as much care and not as much interest. I think it's just because of business wise. You've got Angry Birds movie 2, you've got Artemis Fowl, which has gotten a lot of interest online. But and you've also got the Fast and Furious spinoff with Jason Statham and The Rock. That movie is coming out in early August. But between you and me, Josh, you and I both know that the movie we want to go see most is also playing on August the 2nd, The Dora the Explorer movie.
Can I just say that I really liked, the idea of the Adi Shankar Dora the Explorer movie, remember that? It was hyper violent, Dora had guns and stuff. Oh, that would've been so cool. Um,
A
yeah.
new version of Tomb Raider.
Yes. Um, yeah, no, Dora I don't know, Dora the Explorer, I'm probably not gonna watch. New Mutants looks cool. I like the idea of the horror aspect of it. It'll probably go on to be the last X-Men movie, I wanna say, within the Fox realm. Uh, this is a busy month, okay? So, Untitled Fast and the Furious spinoff. We've only seen, like, 3 set photos of that, so we don't know if that's happening. WB event film, because Fast and Furious usually gets delayed, they have a history of that. Event film, I'm assuming that that's a DC film of some kind? Artemis
That might be the Joker prequel.
Okay, jeez, don't even want yeah, don't have any interest in that. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, is that the one that Guillermo del Toro's doing? Okay, yeah, I saw something about that. Looks good. Angry Birds movie, I don't know how well the first one did, but, Angel Has Fallen is the last one I'm looking forward to in August because that franchise is not good, but it's entertaining, It's like watching Die Hard. No one said that Die Hard is like an emotional movie. It's just fun to watch, and I kinda look at, the Fallen series as in the same vein I look at Die Hard. They're just fun movies to watch, lots of explosions, lots of people getting beat up and stuff. It's a fun flick to watch, and Gerard Butler, it's literally the perfect part for him.
He's running out of parts, my friend, because he's running out of chances to become a hit maker once again in Hollywood. So hopefully this will work out for him. September comes around though. I'm seeing the slate that's on for September, and there's really only one movie. It Chapter 2 comes out in early September, and that is going to dominate the entire month of September.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that one. That's it. Because did you watch the first one? I don't know if we talked about this. Did you watch the first one? Okay, well,
I've seen parts of the first one, and then I want to make a correction to you. I've seen parts of the first one, but I want to make a correction. The Joker prequel that is not coming out in August, so I do not know what that Warner Brothers is, because the Joker prequel comes out in October.
I'm thinking it's a DC related film, but no, watch it because before it chapter 2 comes out, I do want to have a conversation about it because it I don't know how you feel about horror movies, but it's not really a horror movie, so it's an interesting hybrid, but it's also like the cinematography is done so well, the acting is good. Like I've never seen child actors perform that well in a movie ever. So I do want to have a chat about that, but I do see it chapter 2 having the same cult influence that the first one did, and I think that it's going to do better than Downtown Abbey, better than Spies in Disguise, whatever. It's going to be the movie of September.
I will watch it, and then we'll go ahead and talk about it as it Chapter 2 approaches. But I will watch it in full, before we go ahead and talk about it. What comes up in October is a little bit of a mixed plate as well. You've got Gemini Man, Joker prequel. I think that's right now a lot. I don't know when it comes to a Joker prequel. I know how you feel about that. Zombieland 2 is coming out in the middle of October as well. And I don't know, man. Just it seems like when it gets to right now, it's going to be almost kind of like a hit or miss point, and maybe just a lot of dead space when it comes to a lot of underperformers at the box office in September and October. You have an Adams Family animation movie. Yeah, I mean, just a lot of reaching right now. But I think if possible, and Joaquin Phoenix's performance is good enough, the Joker prequel could actually be something that could take the entire month of October.
Okay, before I talk about the Joker, I do want to ask you, in the midst of the hashtag Me Too movement, why would you name a movie The Woman in the Window? Because you're going to go around and ask your friends, hey, did you see The Woman in the Window? And it's going to make you sound bad, right? It's
Exactly, exactly.
2019, man. That's all I'm saying. The Joker movie, okay, so Joker, I see it being an artsy flick. What kind of tone do you think that movie's going to take? Because I don't from what I understand, it doesn't have they're talking about having Gordon in it, but it's not gonna have, like, heroes, in the typical fashion. I'm seeing it as more of, something that could possibly, if done correctly, be nominated for something. What do you think of
I
that?
I I I agree with you. It could be something that Joaquin Phoenix. It's funny, and if Joaquin Phoenix gets nominated for this role as the Joker, it'll be the second time the Joker has been nominated. A character play somebody playing the character of the Joker has been nominated. I don't think it will go that far. I think people will be a little bit apprehensive to do so because obviously what happened with Heath Ledger and him getting nominated posthumously, and obviously his great performance. I think that is going to be the barometer. Him and Jack Nicholson playing both that role just in different directions, but both playing it very well. I think it's going to be tough for Joaquin Phoenix, but he is one of the best actors on the planet. So if anybody can try and make something of that role in a different angle, it can definitely be him. I think the movie, if it's good, it can actually get a push to do really well at the box office, but I just don't see it generating enough to get any type of critical awards at the end of the year. I just think it comes out a little bit too I think it comes out a weird time in October, but I also think that people will stray away from it because they'll also see it as a superhero movie as well, even if there's no superheroes involved. So, be that as it may, a comic book movie per se. How about that?
Yeah, that's a good point. Real quick though, do you think that it's too late? Zombieland kind of wore out its welcome, and it's too late for a sequel because that was what 7 years ago. I want to say.
I think they missed the boat on that one. Had it come out 2 or 3 years later, I think they would have had themselves a nice way to go ahead and wrap around a trilogy. It's first of all, it's too many years. It's too many years in between. People have forgotten about it. Second of all, it in the middle of October when it's coming out, that's a dead period for movies. Kids are going back. Kids are back at school. a lot of stuff going on in people's lives. I think it's just going to be a missed opportunity, and I don't know why they're sticking Zombieland 2 out there. Even if it's good, it doesn't matter. It probably won't do very well, and that's a shame because Zombieland 2, I think, deserves better because the first one was pretty darn good in my estimation. Coming up in November, we've got a lot of good things coming up there as far as the Terminator movie that I guess James Cameron has his fingerprints all over. He's not directing it per se, but he's involved in it. Linda Hamilton's back in it, and it looks like it's going to be. Well, they're trying to say it's putting back the Terminator in a right direction as opposed to what's happened the numerous times before when Terminator was just pretty much, you know, just thrown out to the garbage on so many different bad movies. But you have a lot of other good things going on with Sonic the Hedgehog movie that people made fun of and people kind of like weirded out by. But you also have stuff like Frozen 2, which is going to dominate the back end of the box office in November. Another hit movie coming up on the way for Disney. Untitled Kingsman movie. I don't know if the Kingsman movie will be coming up then, but if it does and it sticks to that time slot in the middle of sticks to that date in the middle of November. Your thoughts on what a Kingsman movie can do as far as just generating any type of enthusiasm the third time around?
Okay, so the only way I think that it could be critically acclaimed because it doesn't have Eggsy in it. It either needs to focus on the what was the American version of them,
The Statesman,
the
which
Statesman.
I liked the idea of branching out the statements and a Statesman in its own movies.
It needs to be about the Statesman, or it needs to tell a story of an underdog and kind of capture the magic that the first one had. Because like Eggsy is the perfect protagonist because he's tragic and you want to you feel for him. Whether I mean, even in the second one, which was not as good as the first one, it when he was you're like, why would they write something like that? It still was good because you have that history with Eggsy. So if they can create another character like that kind of steals your heart a little bit, like that would make a good Kingsman movie. But I don't know what their plans are. They haven't said anything about the story. We don't really know anything about it, or even if that's when this movie's going to come out. So there's a lot of iffy factors there, and coming out a week before Frozen, I don't think is a great idea either.
No, it's not the greatest, although they are reaching for different demographics when it comes to the movie theater. But the parents are going to be taking their kids to their parents are going to be taking their kids to see Frozen 2, and they may not have enough time to go ahead and check out another Kingsman movie, or definitely not Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know what that movie's
Hey,
doing there,
for
but
real, I'm kind of excited about Sonic the Hedgehog.
well, I know you're a big Sonic fan, but you got to admit this has weirded a lot of people out. Those posters and whatnot.
Talking about the fur, hedgehogs have fur. That's just the way it is. I mean, granted, they don't run fast. They just kind of curl up in balls and don't do anything. But hey, it's Sonic the Hedgehog. Why not?
Yeah, well, yeah. And last but not least, we hit December, and I think I'm sorry to, and all apologies to our good friend Rob McCallum of Rob McCallum Films, who's a huge He-Man supporter, and obviously one of the directors of the movie that you can see now on Netflix, the documentary, The Power of Grayskull, He-Man, and the Masters of the Universe, definitive history of it. Masters of the Universe comes out on 2 days before Star Wars Episode 9. I know a lot of people will pick on Cats for coming out on the same day as Star Wars Episode 9, but man, that might actually do some money. That might actually do some money alongside Episode 9. But Masters of the Universe, I think has no chance at all.
That's a movie that should come out in like a dry month, I guess. Like, I could see it doing well in October, but I don't know why they'd put it in December because it's not a holiday movie. It's not something that's like a big budget blockbuster. At least I don't think at this point. But it really is just not a movie that belongs in that spot. It's not something that because it's an old franchise too. Like this is what we were talking about before. With Pet Cemetery, are these old properties, are they going to do well with modern audiences? Remember they tried to bring Conan back with Jason Momoa, and I enjoyed it to a point. It wasn't a good movie, but like it did not do well with people because people weren't willing to give it a try like I was, you know. So, and that's another one that was is also was a movie a long time ago also. So I don't see it really doing any you know, that's stupid. Sony's just does not make good Amy Pascal, someone needs to kind of talk to her about proper filmmaking, I guess. But
Speaking of Sony, they've got another movie coming out in December, and that's going to be Jumanji. Your thoughts on Jumanji the second time around? Is it going to be as big of a hit as it was before? Because you got to remember, it came out at around the same time as another Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi, that time as well.
yeah, I want them to bring the board game back. You know, the video game thing, it was fun, it was funny, but there's something about the board game, you know, and the plants coming out. Like, it felt like there was more at stake in that. Like when Kristen Dunst got shot with the little needle things in her neck, you're like, oh no. Like it felt darker and it felt more serious. And I enjoyed the hell out of it. So I would love to see them bring the board game back. But where do you stand on that?
Well, when it comes to Jumanji sequel, it's just going to be more of the same, going back into that type of universe with all the same fun-loving characters. I don't think you're going to get anything original out of it, but I think it's going to entertain audiences. And you know what? It blew away our expectations the first time around. So I'm not going to bet against it, especially the fact that the first one did so well going up against another Star Wars in The Last Jedi. So that like I said, I just don't see it not doing well, even though I think the movie itself will probably not be a very good watch for you or I. I just think at this point in time, I'm not going to bet on Jumanji because they're probably one of the few movies that's not afraid of going up against a Star Wars Episode 9. And speaking of Star Wars Episode 9, we'll end our conversation. We'll end our preview. We will end our 2019 movie preview with this. Star Wars Episode 9, my friend, it's the end of the Skywalker over story arc, the Skywalker story arc, going back from the prequels to obviously what we've seen up to the first 8 movies here. Your thoughts on Star Wars Episode 9? I know you've been kind of jaded on it in recent past, but do you think you can actually get kind of amped up for it, knowing that it's the final ending for all these movies we've seen in the past?
Okay, well, I was talking to Big Dog about this earlier. With Star Wars Episode 9, it's like when you get to the last chapter of To Kill a Mockingbird and you're like, well, I've endured it this far, so why not, right? That's how I feel about Star Wars Episode 9 right now. I hope it's good. I saw our friend Jay Bartlett posted that thing earlier today about, keeping your expectations subdued when it comes to Star Wars and just liking it for what it is. So I'm hoping to do that. I really love Solo, and I just I obviously they've heard the fan backlash from Episode 8, and yeah, I'm going into it hoping to see. I'm going into it with zero expectations, just hoping to see an acceptable close to this new trilogy.
Well, J.J. Abrams, I think will be safe. Will go safe on it, like he did in the Episode 7. I think he'll just go ahead and make the right decisions. Maybe not the gutsiest decisions, like Rian Johnson did in Episode 8. He for all the things that people say about The Last Jedi, and you've heard my thoughts on it. I think ends up being a very average movie because there's some extreme highs and definite real lows when it comes to that movie. So overall, it was just like a movie for me. It was all right, but be that as it may, Rian Johnson took some gambles. Some of them paid off, some of them didn't, and I think that J.J. Abrams is going to go a safe route like he did in Episode 7, and it'll end up being a really really fun ending for the series as a whole. Do I think it's going to do as well as Marvel Avengers Endgame? No. Do I think it might even do $2 billion? That's up for question because $1.6 billion was The Last Jedi, which was diminishing returns over Episode 7. Do I think it's going to go below The Last Jedi? No. I think it's going to fall somewhere in the middle because there's about a 400, 500 million swing between Episode 7 and 8. And I think it's going to fall somewhere into there. But I think it's just going to fall just short of the $2 billion point. And that leads me into my last question, my friend. Do you think 2019 is going to be the biggest year ever for cinema?
Well, I'm looking at this and I'm comparing it to last year is not to 2017 as far as video game releases. There were so many games coming out and I just did not have time to play all the ones I wanted to. I'm looking at this and there's so many movies coming out and they're all, there's not a lot of original IPs, but there's just so much to watch and I'm just trying to figure out like am I gonna have time to see all these? Am I gonna have to, where am I gonna be when I watch? Am I gonna be on a couch? Am I gonna be able to go to the movie theaters to see them? I don't, I look at, what was it? It was May, right? Had quite a few movies. You got, Detective Pikachu, John Wick Chapter 3, Aladdin, Godzilla, King of Monsters. Like, at most, I see maybe 2 movies a month and that's like on a good month. So I don't see myself having the time to go see all of these, though I hope to catch them when they come out. Like at the end of the year, you and I like we did that last minute grind, right? To watch all those movies so we could discuss them on the podcast. And that was the most movies I've ever watched, in the span of 3 days. So I don't see myself making it to all of the ones that I would probably enjoy.
I'll tell you, my friend, to me, this is going to be the biggest year ever for movies. I think it's going to earn more dollars at the box office than any other. The reason why is just exactly what you said. A lot of proven commodities coming to the box office this year. If it's not a sequel, it's a live action of a very popular pop culture or children's story type thing that is going to generate a lot of interest. Disney is coming out with I think at least what three different live action movies alone. All three of them have the potential to earn some big dollars. Not to mention the other stuff that's going on in their world with Marvel and Star Wars. You've got It Chapter 2. You've got so many good things that are going to generate a lot of interest, a lot of buzz, and a lot of dollars at the box office. Yeah, you're right. There's not a whole lot originally going on that as of yet we can see, but you know what? It just is going to be a big year overall in 2019. I think it will be the biggest ever on record.
Hey,
What are your thoughts?
real quick, sorry. I know Bob Iger, he's a huge fan of the show, listens to every episode. I do have a polite request of him. I know everyone's like, "Hey, I want to watch Aladdin live action, Lion King live action," but the real fans are just wondering when you're going to be putting out that live action version of The Great Mouse Detective. So sleep on it. Get back to me. You can reach us at popculturecosmos@gmail.com. Thank you.
I would go for a live action Treasure Island, but that's just me.
Treasure Planet is one of these?
Treasure Planet. Sorry, Treasure Planet. Treasure Planet.
Those movies were way ahead of their time, and I love both of them.
Yes, or the Black Hole. Treasure Planet or the Black Hole.
Ooh,
Or
good.
another Tron. Let's go for Tron 3.
Oh, I know, man. I like that movie so much.
What are your thoughts out there on the movies of 2019? Are there ones that you specifically want to go ahead and see, or do you think that 2019 will be or won't be the biggest year on record ever for the movie industry? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Also, as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, coming up next, we've got a back to back to back of old school retro as we've got interviews from CES with Arcade One Up. And also My Arcade, also the folks also the folks at My Arcade. Sandwiched in between is Josh's thoughts on the At Games Bandai Namco Blast. Get set for a flashback to some great retro gaming talk coming up for the next few minutes. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. And we're back to close out the show. This is the Pop Culture Cosmos. If you need a listing of where we're at, where we're being played, because we're on internet radio stations and internet and terrestrial radio stations all over the world, 7 days a week, check out our listings, Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, where you'll also catch many of our podcast options as well. My friend, I know you got a great thing going on with Humanica Media, so share the goods, my friend. What is going on with Humanica Media?
Oh, just another episode of Topicocalypse dropped yesterday. There'll be another one up on Tuesday, I want to say. We did a big New Year's Eve conversation. It's a terrible episode, but we're just popping that content up anyways. So you can check that out. It's in 3 parts. The first part's up now. Second part will be up on Tuesday. Third part, I want to say Thursday. So definitely go and give that a listen as we encroach on 100 episodes. And also, we have a Topicocalypse award show coming at you soon. So I'm actually in the process of editing that right now. So stay tuned.
And you wanted to also mention something about our things that something that we're going to do if somebody buys one of the awesome products from Miracle Fruit Oil, known as the Vitabrace gaming wristbands.
Thank you for the segue, Gerald. I did. Yes, if you buy a Miracle Fruit Oil's Vitabrace High Performance Gaming Wristband and use the code found in our show, you'll get a code for a free video game. This month we have Sonic. Next month we might have some other cool games. So, use the promo code. Go to their website www.miraclefruitoil.com and use the code at checkout, and then we will send you the game, and you will also get the Vitabrace that you got $10 off on.
Fair enough. That's a great deal indeed. Once again, the code that the promo that we played earlier in the episode, there was a code that we gave out. I'm going to tell you what it is right now. Code 10. Just use that at checkout. Not only will you get money off of an awesome Vitabrace gaming bracelet, but you also get a free game from us at the Pop Culture Cosmos. And just a heads up on the community event board, we've got Mario Party Wars going ahead and doing a tournament for Super Mario Party at the HyperX Esports Arena right there at the Luxor, right on the Strip in beautiful Las Vegas. We've also got Mario Party Wars. That's going to be on January 15th at 6 p.m. On January 18th at 5 p.m., Mario Party Wars invades GameWorks just down the street from the HyperX Esports Arena. They're going to go just down the street 3 days later on the Strip. Going to go ahead and check out GameWorks. That's going to be at Town Square on Las Vegas Boulevard. They're going to go ahead and be part of a Mario Party Wars invasion. Check it out there on January 18th at 5 p.m. And then on the 20th, that's right, on the 20th, our good friends at Mario Party Wars and Go Brothers Gaming. Go Brothers Gaming is going to host with their good friends Mario Party Wars a retro games day from on Sunday, January 20th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the HyperX Esports Arena at the Luxor in beautiful Las Vegas, right there on the Strip. If you want your pop culture community event mentioned on our radio show that reaches a worldwide audience, let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. My friend, before we head on out, real quick, I want to hear your thoughts. Gundam. Gundam has been such a nice thing to see, and it's just nice to see that revival of interest in Gundam. Obviously, we saw a little bit of that in Ready Player One near the end. That was a great scene with Gundam there. Your thoughts, and you wanted to share this, and you wanted to share your thoughts on Gundam and why it's just connecting with a new audience. In fact, also reaching out to its old audience as well with the new episodes that we're seeing on Netflix and so much more.
Right. Well, so Legendary announced a team up with WB. Remember, early last year that they are currently working on developing a live action Gundam movie, and I want to say it was in the Gundam Wing universe, but uh, it's so I've been kind of going back through these because I was a huge fan of Gundam Wing. Like when I was a kid, like I would always come home from school, turn on Toonami, and Gundam Wing was like one of my favorite things to watch. And it took me a while to kind of get into the other series, but as an adult now, and I'm trying to like find out, get back into for our website, trying to get back into anime a little bit to do a little write ups on it. And I've gone back to watching some of these Gundam series, and yeah, they're not the Gundam Wing of my childhood. Like they are hyper violent, super bloody, but they do explore some deeply philosophical themes though. Like I just got done Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn. You can watch it on Netflix right now, and it's broken up into eight, I want to say, hour and 15-minute movies. So There's also, you can watch it in series form if you want to, but on Netflix it's broken up into 8 episodes and they're each like an hour and 10 minutes, I want to say. But it explores this theme where it's like how long sorry, you're gonna have to edit that part, but it talks about how, like, the sins of the parents pass down on the kids, like, and what happens when the future is put in the hands of the young. And it's such an interesting thing. And it talks about, like, what is does all life have the same worth, and who decides who lives and who dies. It's such an interesting uh, you know, philosophical question, because we don't make these decisions. There's a lot of things, it's out of our control, but there's always someone out there who thinks that that decision is theirs to make. And that's one of the things that, Gundam Unicorn handles very well. It makes you kind of think about that and what happens, like, when we're left to clean up the messes left by the generations before us. Mobile Suit Gundam Seed is another one that has talks about, like, young people are more involved in the government than older people think. And it's at the point now where, like, the thanks to social media and the internet and, different news outlets, whether they're right or wrong, there's more knowledge there than people are aware of. And you can't just take advantage of people like you used to be able to do, back in the days of, like, Vietnam and stuff like that. The most recent one I'm getting into is Mobile Suit Gundam Iron Blooded Orphans. So this one's like, I'm really surprised that they're doing some of the things that they're doing in this one. Like, they're addressing the issue of child soldiers, because, there's a lot of that happening all over the world, and arranged marriages, and, like, the age gaps between people, and it's just a lot of, like, barbarism. Like, what happens when the systems that we rely on become, dark and misconstrued, and what happens to the kids who are left to deal with the consequences of that. So all this to say, Mobile Suit, the Gundam series, is they're in tune to what's going on in the world, and I think that's why they've been able to stay relevant for all this time, because they're asking questions that people don't want to ask. And it's a cartoon, yeah, but it's something that, as you're sitting there watching it, from one episode to the next, you're starting to really think about what's going on in there, and you're like, where does this sound familiar? And you start comparing it to what's going on in the world today. And I think that's amazing, and I love it. And I love the it's a really intelligent show, and I don't say that about many things.
Well, I'll tell you what, the interest in Gundam is only going to get more enhanced. It's only going to get more out there. Like you said, once the live action movie comes to fruition. But for now, all the stuff that they're showing on Netflix, it's just awesome to see that interest in Gundam, and the mention that it got in Ready Player One obviously has given it even more life. And I think a lot of more people are going to get into Gundam over the course of the next few months. In fact, as it gets closer to live action Gundam, I really expect to see a marketed interest in Gundam going forward. What are your thoughts out there on the Gundam series? I know Josh really is getting into it, and I'll tell you what, I am renewing my interest into it as well. Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Also, as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, I want to thank, before we head on out, Arcade One Up and My Arcade for their awesome interviews at CES. Funny note, when I was on, just want to let you know, Josh, when I was at Arcade One Up interviewing, having a great time there at their awesome booth there, I will say that was it was really cool that I actually got to do the interview sitting on their tabletop Street Fighter game, the tabletop Street Fighter 2 edition that they had out there. That was just a cute little tabletop that had the Street Fighter editions right there playing, and that was awesome. Just you record right there, and you just realize you're just in the middle of that retro feel with all the wall units they have, the big units that sold so well over the holidays. You go to My Arcade and you go into the middle of the arcade there. It's just so great to see all this retro gaming back in action.
Yeah, well, I mean, I might have brought this up, but Forbes last year put out an article saying that there's a huge amount of interest in retro gaming right now. So a lot of people are opening retro gaming stores. Like, we have down in Huntington Beach. Like, I drove along Beach Boulevard the other day and I saw at least 6 retro gaming stores. The one thing I don't like about them is that they overcharge for games. You can find them online for pretty cheap, but they sell them for usually like $5 to $10 above what they're worth, and that's kind of irks me a little bit. But yeah, it's cool. I'm glad to see the interest rising, and I'm working on a project related to retro gaming right now. So good times ahead, man.
Good times ahead for retro game mom and pop stores. We'll see if that means the same thing for GameStop. There are rumors that there are buyers interested in purchasing the GameStop corporation. We might see that as early. We might see that change as early as in February. And if that's the case, at least the big box retail version of retro gaming may be out of style at some point in time with a lot of store closures. But that might mean a marketed interest in retro gaming everywhere else. Any last thoughts on the way out, my friend?
Yeah, later this week on the next episode, I do want to discuss Activision Bungie because there's some stuff going on there, and also Randy Pitchford's little incident at Medieval Times. So that's stuff that might be good for put on the back burner till next time.
Oh yes, yes, that sounds like a lot of good stuff. We started a part one of the Bungie Activision split on our last episode of the PCC Multiverse, and this sounds like a good follow up next Friday on the PCC Multiverse. Not only that, but a preview of Glass coming this weekend to the movies as well. But right now, for me, it's back to some old school retro gaming. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the old school pop culture cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.
I love the production value. Well done.
Exactly.
You better be getting that high score, by the way. Your ship only goes two ways, so you better be breaking that score.
Maybe next time.